Yeah, man, I'm gonna make this the last one tonight. But welcome to Clout Couch, where the culture sits down and speak up. Now today, shouts out to Business Basic. Um, yeah, man, go press that subscribe button, the notification bell, press the thumbs up, pre- press that share button, and leave comments. Want it, but this is Moscow. Is now held. Nuclear missile warning reaches inside Russia as Putin prepares to leave. This war outside of gangbanging and outside of everybody, this war is getting real crazy, bro. You know, it's these top dudes that got our lives, all our lives in their hands, and they're playing with it. They're playing chess, not checkers. So let's get into it. And we're gonna do this.
Culture sits down and speaks up. Y'all already know what it is. The couch don't lie, and we don't hold back. Camera clicks, bass drop. Welcome to the motherfucking Clout Couch. Clout Couch. Clout Couch. Talk that clout. Talk that clout. Talk that clout, sit down, let it out. Everybody got a mic, but they quiet in the drought. We don't do cap, we don't do scripts. Clout couch, hot takes, talk real, not clip. From the trap to the TikTok trends, we the voice in the back that don't play pretend. No filter, no fake, no off switch here. You say it from the couch, the whole net gon' hear. Talk that clout, talk that clout. Yeah, we viral on the gram and the streets gon' vouch. Pull a mic hot, better watch that mouth. Every guest leave shook when they hit this couch. Clout couch, clout that clout, clout that clout. Clout Couch. Where culture sits down and speaks up. Y'all already know what it is. The couch don't lie, and we don't hold back. Camera clicks, bass drop.
All right. Let's start the video.
It seems Russians in Moscow are panicking. Reason for this panic was simple. Buses and trains in Moscow suddenly started blasting a dangerous announcement. Announcement said Ukraine is launching a nuclear weapon. Everyone go to the shelter right now. Listen to it yourself and then we'll get into the details.
Внимание, внимание! Украину
Attention, attention!
вещает пресс-секретарь Cyber-Anarchist Club.
Ukraine is threatening us with a nuclear bombardment. Everyone proceed to the shelter.
Бомбардировкой. Всем пройти в убежище. Внимание, внимание! Украина угрожает нам ядерной бомбардировкой. Вещает пресс-секретарь.
It turned out this wasn't a joke from the driver because it was happening at multiple different locations, but rather this was a result of a hacker attack on transport company Transportly LLC. Several buses were affected and Moscovites were shocked and panicky. You see, these kind of incidents underscore the main point that has been causing Putin a lot of headache. The war is coming home to Russia, and not even that, the war is coming to elites in Moscow and St. Petersburg. So, to fight this, he's doing what Russia has always done more censorship. In Russia, calls via WhatsApp and Telegram will be banned, Russian media reports. They claim it's to fight terrorism. Now, may I remind everyone, Telegram is a Russian company, but the founder had to flee Russia because he did not want to comply with Russian government's request to identify its users. He wanted to protect freedom of speech even in Russia, and that's why he had to leave the country. And now it seems his company will have to leave the country too. And on top of this, if you guys remember, just a few weeks back, we reported how vast majority of Russia hasn't had any cellular internet for past few months. Putin just does not want information to spread freely, and the best way to stop this is to just stop people from being able to get online. Well, now he's trying to do the same thing in Russian occupied Crimea.
Мобильный интернет.
Mobile internet has been shut down across the entire European part of Russia. According to various estimates, between 30 and 60% of Russia's territory has been deprived of mobile internet. This decision was made by Roskomnadzor on the advice of the Security Council. You know, I think this is just the beginning, because it's obvious that the elite really liked this new experience. They would all want to shield people from all these Western trends we don't need. Let them watch more television. Russian propagandists will tell them how they should live, and the church will polish it all up. Meanwhile, well, listen, first they shut it down for the weekend, then for the holidays, then for school breaks, and then they'll leave it only for the necessary and important people. As for us, why should we be discussing the wrongness of the current course? Why should we be sharing all these harmful outcomes? That corrupts people. It puts very dangerous ideas for the system into their heads.
Развращает это.
That's why they'll look for pretexts and, under those pretexts, restrict our constitutional rights and freedoms. First and foremost, the right to receive information.
В очередь право на получение информации.
Putin is doing everything he can to basically kill freedom of speech or whatever little freedom of speech Russia has. All the while, we have failed journalists like Tucker Carlson here who are trying to argue that Russia is the last country in the world that's trying to protect Western values. That just shows how strong the Russian propaganda truly is. And in fact, in the last few days, as we lead up to President Trump and Putin's meeting, Russian propaganda has gone up a notch. And it's not something that just I'm pointing out. Many other people have noticed this across Western platforms. Friends, I have noticed a larger than usual numbers of bots and trolls here in recent days. The reason for that is obvious. Russian propaganda is investing a lot of resources into the information space this week because the stakes are high. There are also many speculations, opinions, manipulation in the media made this week. It is hard to remain clear headed these days, but it is essential that we do exactly that. And this is not just happening on Twitter. We have been noticing the same thing on YouTube, and not just us, even fellow YouTubers too. Here we have Preston Stewart, who makes great content covering the geopolitics of the world, and this is what he had to say. The Russian mill bloggers might be quiet, but the bots are out in full force. I haven't seen this volume of trolls and bots over YouTube in months. And here you can see some fake comments that Russia has been posting using AI and bots. And the same thing has been happening under our videos too. This is why your support means more to us than ever before. If you can just take a second and hit that like and subscribe button down below, it doesn't cost you anything but truly does help us out tremendously in the algorithm. Now let's continue with the most recent press conference President Trump just had this morning, and he talked a lot about his upcoming meeting with Putin. So I want to show you guys some clips from that. Before that, President Trump put out this tweet. Very unfair media is at work on my meeting with Putin, constantly quoting fired loser and really dumb people like John Bolton, who just said that even though the meeting is on American soil, Putin has already won. What's that all about? We're winning on everything. The fake news is working overtime. No tax on overtime. If I got Moscow and Leningrad free as part of the deal with Russia, the fake news would say that I made a bad deal. Does that mean Trump is pointing out that Moscow is not free right now? Maybe he is watching Business Basics. But anyways, let's continue. But now they've been all caught. Look at all those real news that's coming out about their corruption. They are sick and dishonest people who probably hate our country, but it doesn't matter because we're winning on everything. MAGA. Now, I'll let you guys be the judge of if Trump is winning on everything or not, but I truly do hope that we come out ahead in this peace summit that's apparently happening on a US military base in Anchorage, Alaska. But soon after this tweet, President Trump had a press conference, and here are some interesting answers that he shared relating to this upcoming meeting.
When you meet with Vladimir Putin Friday in Alaska, Yeah. Do you believe you can convince him to stop targeting civilians in Ukraine?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've had that conversation with him. I've had a lot of good conversations with him. Then I go home and I see that a rocket hit a nursing home or a rocket hit an apartment building and people are laying dead in the street. So I guess the answer to that is no, because I've had this conversation. I want to end the war.
Well, guess what? All the while, President Trump was saying that Putin is not going to stop attacking Ukrainian civilians, innocent civilians. Putin was actually attacking Ukrainian civilian population. Here's more details. Russia continues to cynically attack Ukraine's civilian population. Today in Kherson and Donetsk regions, Russian drones targeted passenger cars and an ambulance. Unfortunately, there are people killed and injured. In Kherson, a Russian drone struck a passenger car. One person was killed, a woman was injured. In addition, the strike on the ambulance caused a fire, which firefighters managed to extinguish. In Donetsk, a Russian drone hit a passenger car with 3 people inside. The car went off the road into a ditch. 2 men were pulled out by the police, and the third was freed by rescuers and handed over to medics. It's just insane that even the president of the strongest country in the world knows Putin is committing war crime. He publicly admits that Putin is committing war crimes and he's not going to stop. And even then, we have no punishments. This war continues, Putin continues to kill people, and there's no pushback, it seems. In fact, this is what President Trump said when he was asked what happens if even after this meeting, Putin agrees to just continue this war. Putin does not agree to stop it. This is what he said.
Agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the
There,
consequences
there will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences, yes.
Now, hopefully, this time we actually see some results, see some real pressure on Russia instead of just seeing dates after dates, deadlines after deadlines passed, and all Putin does is delay, and we accept the delays. Only time will tell. But the next question President Trump was asked was about what happens after the meeting if everything goes according to plan. And this is what his plan is.
If the first one goes okay, we'll have a quick second one. I would like to do it almost immediately. And we'll have a quick second meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky and myself if they'd like to have me there. And that would be a meeting where maybe it could be absolutely work. But the first meeting will not work that out. Certain great things can be gained in the first. It's going to be a very important meeting. But it's setting the table for the second meeting. I think the second meeting, if the second meeting takes place, now there may be no second meeting because if I feel that it's not appropriate to have it because I didn't get the answers that we have to have, then we're not going to have a second meeting.
Now, another interesting thing Trump was asked about was the recent Russian hack into the United States federal court filing system. But before we get into that answer, I want to give you guys a little bit of background as to how extensive this hack was. Administrators with court system recently informed Justice Department officials, clerks, and chief judges in federal courts that persistent and sophisticated cyber threat actors have recently compromised sealed records. According to investigators, evidence shows that Russia is at least partially responsible for the recent hack of computer systems that manage federal court documents. Documents related to criminal activity with an overseas tie across at least 8 district courts were initially believed to have been targeted. Last month, the chief judges of district courts across the country were quietly warned to move those kind of cases off the regular document management system. They were initially told not to discuss the matter with other judges in their district. Now, clearly, this was serious. We don't have all the details as to what was targeted, what was stolen, why they were doing it, but we know many Russian and Eastern European cases were involved in this hack, and that's why many people believe Russia was involved. That doesn't mean it was only Russia. Many investigators believe maybe other countries were involved. Hopefully, in the future, we get more information about this hack. But here's President Trump answering a question relating to it.
There's new reporting that the Russians have hacked into some computer systems that manage U.S. federal court documents. I wonder if you've seen this reporting and if you plan to bring it up with Putin when you see him later in the week.
I guess I could. Are you surprised? You know, are you surprised? They hack in. That's what they do. They're good at it. We're good at it. We're actually better at it. But no, I have heard about it. I have heard about it.
Now, let's see if this is something that's discussed between Trump and Putin when they meet on Friday. But one of the things that's definitely going to be discussed is demands from both sides. Zelensky and EU leaders just had a meeting with Trump today via phone call, and they have clarified their demands for a ceasefire or for long term peace. And these are the exact demands: no land talks before ceasefire. Demand number two, no sanctions relief for Russia. Demand number three, Russia must pay war damages, roughly $1 trillion. Demand number four, Ukraine joins EU or NATO. Well, more specifically, this demand relates to Ukraine's ability to not have Russia veto any possible future enrollment. And lastly, Russia returns all prisoner of wars and abducted children. Again, to remind everyone, Putin is an internationally convicted criminal, wanted criminal, because he's been kidnapping Ukrainian children and selling them in Russia. They have a website in Russia where you can just go buy Ukrainian children. You can see how unsafe this is for the children who were kidnapped by Putin's war machine. Anyways, here's more details on all these demands. Kyiv's first demand is durable ceasefire before any land discussions. Zelensky says giving up Donbas would dismantle key defenses and open Russia's path to Zaporizhia, Dnipro, and Kharkiv. Lithuanian foreign minister calls NATO's de facto control idea a betrayal. Demand number two, Ukraine seeks $500 billion in reparations, using $200 billion in frozen Russian assets in Belgium as leverage. Merch, the German chancellor, backs the freeze until Moscow pays. Kyiv also demands return of 20,000 abducted children and all prisoners of wars. Demand number three, Ukraine wants NATO and EU membership as security guarantees. Now, of course, this is not something Ukraine is going to give. President Trump and President Biden have made this clear. President Trump rejects NATO entry. Moscow demands a veto. Zelensky says EU bids faces blockage from states fearing competition from Ukraine's farm sector. Kyiv also refuses Russian demand to shrink its 900,000 strong army or end Western arms supply. With US aid stalled at 64 billion euros under Trump, EU states have overtaken Washington at 74 billion euros, now Kyiv's main defense lifeline. Kyiv warns lifting US sanctions or restoring trade would let Moscow rearm. Analysts estimate Russia war cost at $2 trillion right now and troop losses at over 1 million. Ukraine urges intensifying sanctions and targeting Russia's industry, energy, and logistics. Now, these are Ukrainian demands, and according to reporting, President Trump was pretty on board with all of this, or at least most of this. But now let's shift focus to Putin's demand going into this meeting, so we can see what both sides want, or what exactly both sides want, and then we'll see what happens after the meeting. Putin's demands were announced by a Kremlin advisor. What does Putin propose? Withdrawal of armed forces of Ukraine from Donbas. Ukraine's not going to do this. Withdrawal of Russian armed forces from Sunni, Dnipro, Kharkiv regions while maintaining the front line in other directions except Donbas. Ukraine's commitment to not join NATO. Demilitarization of Ukraine and constitutional reform towards a federal structure. Last, Russia wants to conclude a bilateral agreement with the United States without the participation of Ukraine and the EU. The publication writes that if Ukraine refuses, Putin wants Trump to stop all military aid to Kyiv, even halt weapon sales to Europeans so they cannot transfer them to Ukraine. Putin really thinks he's winning this war, the 3-day special military operation that's still going on 3.5 years later. Let's see how the
All right, now I gotta leave you guys with
Welcome to the
this.
motherfucking Clout Couch. Clout Couch. Clout Couch. Talk that clout. Talk that clout. Talk that clout, sit down, let it out. Everybody got a mic, but they quiet in the drought. We don't do cap, we don't do screams. Clout Couch, hot takes, talk real, not clip. From the trap to the TikTok trends, we the voice in the back that don't play pretend. No filter, no fake, no off switch here. You say it from the couch, the whole net gon' hear. Talk that clout. Talk that clout. Yeah, we viral on the gram and the streets gon' vouch. Pull a mic hot, better watch that mouth. Every guest leave shook when they hit this couch. Clout Couch. Clout that clout. Clout that clout. Clout Couch. Where culture sits down and speaks up. Y'all.